What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Scratch Agency Podcast, hosted by Scratch Agents for Scratch Agents. My name's Stephen Turnbull, founder of T5 Insurance Services in Clinton, New York, and I'm joined by my co-host today, the one and all you already know. Hold your applause, Mr. Shawn Fitzgerald from Sound Harbor Insurance in Long Island, New York. I'm about 6 coffees in this morning, Shawn. I'm just going to warn you and all the listeners. We're rocking.
I was going to say, you should warn the listeners.
You have all been
I'm
warned.
used to
Let
it
me
by
say
now.
one thing. I'm going to say one thing for anybody listening to this. Shawn and I just got off a phone call and I said this, and I'm going to just say it out loud. If you're feeling stressed today, remember you are where you wanted to be. Let me say that again. You are where you wanted to be. Let that sink in for a little bit. You're going to get through it. You're so crazy that you got to hire somebody, good. You're so crazy that you can't get to all the accounts that are coming in, good. This is where you wanted to be. Figure it out. And I think it's hard for us as scratch agency owners, people that are building something special, to stick our heads up out of the sand a little bit and realize these challenges and these problems, in air quotes, are what we wanted and what we are working for.
Yes, and I've said it 10,000 times. That's why you need to know your vision, because when times do get rough and you do feel stressed out, reflect on your vision, makes everything feel better.
I think we can end it right there.
That's it. Done.
We got 2 topics we want to talk about. One topic we want to talk about. We are unscripted as usual, so I have an additional topic that I just want to touch on. We are the first time recording back from our Mastermind trip in Dallas, and I want to give that just a few seconds if we can, Shawn.
Yeah,
And we had a few people reach out to us individually about, hey, what's this about? I'd like to join. We're not looking in our specific mastermind. We meet every 2 weeks on Zoom and one time in person. So those posts that you guys saw and reached out about were the in-person meetup that we had. We are very intentionally keeping it at 8 people for the time because we meet every 2 weeks, all that. My point in saying this is if you're listening to this and saw that and said, man, I got to do something like that. I want to be a part of something like that. Start it. We've talked about this in the past. Start it with one person. You know, for me, find a Shawn in your life, find a Shawn in the Telegram and reach out to him and say, hey, can we connect once a week? Can we connect every 2 weeks? And add a person and add a person and add a person to whatever, how many you want to. But I just wanted to challenge people on that to start a mastermind group, because the value and the conversations and most importantly, the friendships that we have gotten out of that group has completely changed a lot in our agencies and our personal lives and whatever you want to insert here. And I just challenge everybody that reached out about that or have seen it or whatnot to start your own, even if it's with just 2 people. Anything you want to add to that, Shawn?
Yeah, I would just add that I think it's an underestimated value that in the power of just being able to talk to somebody who's going through what you're going through and just being able to talk out your situation, and then somebody else being like, you're not crazy, and here's what I would do to fix that or tweak it a little bit that makes more sense. And I mean, that's exactly, I'll use me as a case example. Like during the mastermind, we went around the room, and when it got to me, I talked about what I was doing, and like a couple of people in the room that have larger agencies than I do were like, dude, this is the clear path. Stay on it. Don't get distracted. Here's the 3 steps. Just follow that for the next year and a half. And just to be able to talk that out and hear that from our peer group was invaluable. So I agree with Stephen. Go out and find your Stephen.
Doesn't hurt to go to a place that has amazing barbecue. I'll say that.
Yeah, you got that right. You got that right.
Doesn't hurt. All right. Quick solo today. And it's funny, Shawn, I don't know if you saw yet, but right before we hit record here, I put a message out in the Telegram.
I did.
And said that I need some help settling a debate. Here's the debate. Shawn loves solos. I hate them. Okay. That's the debate. So anybody that's saying you don't like solos in the Telegram, you're not my friend. Anybody that likes solos, get lost. No, I'm just kidding. No, we're just trying to continually add value. And even in the few minutes, we've gotten some good responses that, a mix of both is good. So we just, again, wanted to put that out there and focus on what you guys want to hear, because we learn from you. And that's the point of this. Today, we're going to talk about something that we haven't really talked about. And that's just kind of behind the curtain of what what do team huddles, what do weekly meetings look like inside of our agencies? And what I love about this is we're two different agencies that run two completely different ways, that have two different sets of staff, that have two different types of staff. So our meetings are going to look different. And so is yours that's listening, right? And so hopefully you can take one thing or think of one thing differently and implement just a quick episode to highlight kind of how our meetings look like and what we've learned. So Shawn, I'll let you take it away if you want to share the structure, and then I can go after you.
Yeah, I think I'll try not to dive too deep in the weeds here because I do feel like, to your point, everyone's agency is different. So what I would start before, like if you're a scratch agent, listen to this. This applies whether you have 1 people or 3 people or 6 people. And what I would start with is knowing where you want the agency to go and what numbers are important for you to track. Right. And I say that because you can build that into your weekly team meetings to hold the team accountable, A, and B, you're like sharing the progress towards the vision of the agency. And I feel like people get motivated by that, knowing that you're growing and you're pushing to achieve and looking at the numbers and being transparent with them. So obviously there's a ton of different numbers, there's a ton of different things you can look into, but I will share what's worked for us. And you know, keep in mind, I'm a fully remote agency, so nobody's in the office. So for me, I prefer to have more team meetings because we barely see each other. So here's kind of what I set up, and I've read a few books around this, and this is what works best for me. So Monday, we have our very intentional weekly team sync meeting. So think of this as like just setting the direction and, energy for the week. So we're basically like restating the agency vision, our quote unquote mission statement, reminding everybody why we're doing this. We're reviewing new business goals, so this could be policies, revenues, and lead. So think of it like a little sales section. And we also keep track of like how much we've donated to a local company here that feeds families. So we have like a little goal around that we keep track of. And then we look at any like retention numbers. So those are like, that's our Monday meeting. It's generally 30 minutes or less, unless there's some big fires going on in the agency and we need to, put it out on the call. So step one, have that anchor of the week, quote unquote, weekly sync meeting. All right. And Stephen, I think I know you do something similar to that. If you skip Tuesday, I don't have any meetings on Tuesday. And then Wednesday, we have, it's usually a fairly quick one, 15, 20 minutes. And this one is more of keeping the momentum and going over a cancellation list that we all work on together. And basically why I implemented this is, again, for where we're located, there's a lot of property inspections. We have a lot of volume from a property standpoint. And what I noticed, like a year ago, is that stuff was canceling for rec letters and, for just like quirky reasons. And I wanted to keep a track of it and hold people accountable. So every week, it could only be 5 or 6 people, but we go through the list. And what I've noticed, it helps us because we see trends. Hey, why is this the 9th person that's on cancel non-pay that's mortgagee billed? Seems like we probably got to figure out and fix that renewal process around homeowners that are mortgagee billed, So I've noticed you find a lot of cracks in the pipeline, so to speak, when you're keeping track of those cancellations. So that's what Wednesday focuses on. And then Thursday I do all our one-to-ones every week on Thursday. Again, this is intentional, short, 15 minutes. It could be stuff around professional growth. Hey, Ron, what's working for you? Is there anything that's holding you up? Is there a renewal you're working on that you want to pick my brain about? Is there a training we can assign to them to, push them to the next level? All that type of stuff. And yes, I do that every week with all the people in my office, VAs included. And then Friday is our last team meeting. And this one is, again, 15 minutes, but it's just a quick, hey, for the whole team, any service related issues, anything related to renewals, and any other quirky things that came up that we need to put fires out on. There are times where we hop on. I think it happened the other day where I was like, we hopped on. And I was like, Marsha, you got anything? She's like, no fires. Like, Ryan, you got anything? Nope. Prince, nope. Michelle, nope. And I was like, all right, I'll see you guys tomorrow. You know, there are times where
Which
it
is
gets
okay,
short.
right?
Yeah,
Which is okay.
which is okay. And I feel like I wrote this down because I feel like this is like one thing that can provide some value to the agents listening is like over time, like the rhythm creates a almost like a feedback loop, right? So like Monday sets the tone, midweek you kind of adjust it, Thursday grows the people, so to speak, and then you know quarterly reviews and annually reviews you can throw in there. We keep that separate, but keep your meetings predictable but purposeful. You know, like don't meet just to talk. You know, you want to meet to align, and that's kind of why if I go around the room and no one's got anything, we just move on with our day. So, I mean, that's basically my framework. And then I know you could talk more about all that. I know you have a similar setup. And last thing I would leave with too, actually, because I know this is something you and I both worked on recently, is having an agenda for the meeting and sending it to the team ahead of time. Or if you use Google Calendar, like I do, you can actually have a Google Doc attached to the meeting invite that is a live document anybody can go in and edit, and it's got the agenda on there. So instead of having to send it out, it's just automatically built in on the calendar invite. That's all.
Microsoft can do that too. That's all.
All right, cool. Google's better. All right, what do you got?
So I think that's all great. And one point I want to make before I kind of dive into what we do is like the biggest downfall with this is can be to meeting just to meet.
Yes,
Having a meeting
100%.
just to meet. And I was in the hot seat in our mastermind a couple months ago, and this was my topic, and I realized we were just meeting to meet, and there was no intentionality behind it. Since we've shifted that, the additional buy-in, the additional efforts of just whatever it is has been huge. And so I'll just go over kind of what we do. We're split. So Jasmine's in the office with me, my CSR, and then I have a VA in Columbia. So there's 3 of us total. So same with Shawn. We still want to stay connected because we have that one virtual employee. So we do a Monday morning huddle at 9 a.m. The office opens at 8:30. Gives everybody a chance to get in, get the cup of coffee, check emails, any fires, whatever, set up for the day, and then we have our meeting at 9 on Mondays. That's about 15 minutes. Monday and Fridays are our huddles. Mondays and Fridays mornings at 9 a.m. Wednesday is our full-blown meeting. The Monday and Fridays, and I think this is important too, is it's not just, and it's at least important for me, that when we sit down and meet, it's not let's just get into the first thing that everybody does on Monday is shares the best part of their weekend and something they're looking forward to this week. And we go around. What was the best part of your weekend? What's something you're looking forward to? You know, great. Again, just builds the community, builds us closer, all of that. And then we just do on those huddles, just like a week recap, schedules. What's Steven's schedule look like this week? Who's off? If anybody's off, any important announcements, need to know, whatever. So that's 10, 15 minutes. And that's, again, to your point, if there's not much, we're on there for 5 minutes and we're getting going. So those are very similar on Mondays and Fridays. On Wednesdays, our full-blown meeting. And something that was very important for me when I was creating the agenda, especially as a small team of 3, is I wanted to have everybody have buy-in to the agenda and to the meeting. So Jasmine brings forward something, Emmanuel brings forward something, and I bring forward something, but we all have to prepare for the meeting. So it's not just me preparing for the meeting and speaking to them. Everybody has a role in the meeting, and everybody has to be prepared for the role. Something different that we do is every team member rotates every week and starts the weekly meeting by reciting our core values.
I like that. And, you know, just to give you kudos, I've heard one of your team meetings before, and I think you do a really good job of incorporating the other people in your agency, like you said, to quote unquote almost run the meeting. So, yeah, I think that takes some of the spotlight off you too, which is super helpful.
So on this big meeting, on the big weekly meeting, we'll call it, the first section, again, is nothing to do with T5 or the business. So the core values are with the business. But so Emmanuel, this week, will recite the core values. So I literally, to this point, just have to say, okay, let's get started. Emmanuel knows that Jasmine was last week. He's up. He recites the core values. And something I think is important that I say every meeting is this is how we hire, fire, and promote accordingly. It's just that these are our guiding principles moving forward, right? From there, every team member shares one win from the previous week. Hey, I had this great opportunity where I upsold this client. I helped this client out. Someone called in and wasn't sure on this. We increased coverage, whatever it is. And then myself as the leader after that shares a winning moment for each person that week. So the first 5 minutes is really checking in with them and personally and We say a lot in the agency how we're winners, and we talk about that all the time. And they share that through those points. Something fun we're doing now is a 90-day health challenge. So we all set up health challenge stuff. So Emmanuel is checking in with people of where we're at with that for the end of the year. Then we get into the nit and gritty. So Jasmine, who is our CSR and primarily head of service, she gives any service updates. Are there any claims issues going on? Any policy changes that there's problem with? Anything that like you do with that the greater good needs to know about. And then furthermore, is there any processes we need to change or talk about? Hey, we did this last week and I don't know why you do this and I do this. Like we should do it this way, right? So she brings that forward. She prepares that. Emmanuel, who does a lot of the data entry and sales and all quoting, he'll report how many policies we quoted last week, how many we sold, any cross-sell opportunities. He'll talk about to Jasmine so they're on the same page with those, and then just any quoting and data issues and stuff like that. And then this is one thing that we never talked about until we framed this meeting. I report the numbers weekly. So we have a goal of this is how much business we want to write each month, and this is where we're at.
There's a lot of power in being transparent with the numbers.
100%. And I'll tell you, Shawn, you're the one that told me to do that, and I was skeptical of doing it. And ever since doing it, I remember I was on a long weekend vacation, and Emmanuel called me and was fired up because we were like 2 policies away from hitting our number goal in September. And we quoted a random auto that called in and saved him like $1,000. So we know it's going to be a home run and that was going to get us over our goal. And he literally called me to tell me about that, just so you know, we're about to hit our number. Right. But that's because we share about it and we talk about it and we know that that's important.
Yep.
And then the rest of it's just kind of me like, hey, these are some tool things we're looking at, general feedback. One thing that I want to add that I've done is, and I heard this from some podcasts, is maybe Shawn, whatever. Instead of nitpicking throughout the week of like, hey, I think you need to do this differently, and I picked this up, I have a running live sheet on my computer that I leave open of like, if I picked up this client interaction, I didn't really like the way you guys handled that, or I didn't really like this, I'm not stopping what they're doing on Tuesday to talk about that. I'm going to put it in my notes for Wednesday, and then I'm going to address it on Wednesday. Hey, this last week I saw this error. Here's how we combat that and not have it in the future, instead of stopping in the middle of every day of like, hey, don't forget to do this. Don't forget this part of the process, whatever. We kind of have one core area where we talk about things we need to improve on.
We just did that with, we had a little bit of an issue of setting the expectation, and I had to have like a conversation about that. And like, to your point, hold it off to the team call, not just call out a single team member in the moment, because it's a learning lesson for everybody.
Yeah.
So
I think it's less pressure too. You don't want to call them out in the moment of, you're doing that wrong. Let me correct you. Right. It's more of like, this is the time where we do corrections.
Yeah.
And this is why. One last thing is, we don't do the monthly meetings. We do a monthly check-in. So the last week, every Wednesday at the end of the day, we have a monthly check-in with just myself and one team member, and that goes well. And I stress, like, it's not a review. It's like, hey, tell me how things are going. How do you still feel about your role?
Yeah.
What do you feel like you're doing things you shouldn't be doing? Are there things I'm missing? How do you feel about me as a leader? What can I do better? And like, we do that on a monthly basis. The last thing, because I know we have to wrap this up for time, just in general, looking back, 3.5 years old with the agency, I wish that I had meetings with myself when it was just me. If you think about it, like with all of these, looking at the numbers, are there processes we can change?
Yeah.
All right, so it's clear we got to go. But that's one thing I wanted to say is a monthly check-in with yourself too, or a weekly meeting with yourself. Think of how powerful that is. We talk a lot about, even when you're a small agency or a startup, of acting like a big agency and implementing these things now. So if you're doing weekly meetings Wednesday with yourself and going over process, procedures, sales, and all that, when you get that team person, you're just fitting them into the meeting, and that's something that I really wish I did, no matter what size we are. All right. We got Aaron waiting for us on the next episode. So we're going to get rocking and rolling. Shawn, appreciate you, my friend. Everybody, thank you for the support. Thanks for listening to another episode of the Scratch Agency Podcast. Do us a favor, like the show, share the show, and subscribe. But most importantly, remember to dig down deep, believe in yourself and on your own future. We'll see you next week. Take care.